Rain is an exclusive Sports Vision presentation. Monday night in Chicago's Comiskey Park, Manny Rojas scored the decisive goal in the Sting's 2-1 victory, and the celebration began. Sting coach Willie Roy hopes, however, that the celebration was not premature, for Chicago is still one game away from the championship crown. Now the scene is Toronto's Varsity Stadium, and the Blizzard, down 1-0, should come out fighting for their lives. With the North American Soccer League's championship on the line, will it be a Sting sweep, or will Toronto's Blizzard send the series back to Chicago? Don't go away.
Live from Varsity Stadium in Toronto, Ontario, Sports Vision presents the NASL Soccer Bowl, Game 2. Tonight, the Chicago Sting versus the Toronto Blizzard. Good evening, everybody. This is Howard Boston along with Kenny Stern. We're coming to you live from Varsity Stadium. It is Game 2 of the NASL Soccer Bowl playoffs. Chicago leading the series 1-0, and a chance to wrap it all up tonight. If the Chicago Sting should not come out victorious tonight, of course, the series will return to Chicago Sunday evening at 7 o'clock at Comiskey Park. But right now, everyone is talking winning. Everyone is talking bringing Chicago another professional championship. It was the Sting in '81 that brought Chicago its first major championship since the 1963 Bears. And while the Chicago Cubs, and we congratulate them, only one game away from the National League pennant, the Sting can wrap it up and give Chicago another championship tonight. But, Kenny, it's not going to be easy. It's a tough game, and the Chicago Sting is playing its third game in only 5 days.
No question that Toronto has a definite advantage from a physical standpoint. They are a much fresher club. They had a 10-day rest before the game 2 days ago, and they will be able to run a lot harder than Chicago. But it is the team, of course, that scores the most goals, and Toronto has not expressed the ability to be able to stick the ball in the net with the ease that the Chicago Sting can. So although I don't expect Chicago to enjoy any kind of territorial supremacy tonight, I do think the Sting is very much in this game and has a good chance to walk away with the championship.
Coach Willie Roy in the pregame meeting says he expects the Toronto Blizzard to change their game plan just a bit and be a little bit more aggressive, coming out on their own home turf and being a little bit more of an attacking team. Do you think there's merit in that?
Yes, certainly Toronto's going to go out and they are going to try to get that early goal so that they can relax a little bit. If they do not get that goal, the pressure will begin to build throughout the game, because Toronto, of course, needs the victory tonight. For the Sting, there is a tomorrow. That's an unusual situation for the Sting to be in this season. It seems like so many games where the Sting had to come away with the victory, or else there was no tomorrow, making the playoffs that way, and then against Vancouver, losing the first game. But certainly it's a good chance for Chicago to have the championship, but there is a possibility of a third game should the Sting fall.
It is a cool night in Toronto with a pretty stiff breeze coming in off the lake. It may affect play. The Chicago Sting especially sparkling on defense in the first game, with the only Toronto goal coming very, very flukily, a ball inadvertently dribbling through Victor Nogueira's legs. And then Chicago came on in the second half. The Sting defenders, fellas like Hayden Knight guarding Bettiga and Davey Hewson on Ace Nesselenque, Mark Simonson, of course, on David Byrne. They did a spectacular job. Is it fair to expect that they can contain these guys again, Ken?
It's going to be a lot more difficult on Toronto's home field. There's going to be a big crowd here. Perhaps a sellout. They're expecting close to 20,000, and in this small stadium, the fans are going to be very vocal and very much a part of this game. If the Chicago defenders get a little bit too aggressive, the fans may try to intimidate the referee. Fortunately, Bill Maxwell has a lot of experience.
Right.
He's the referee tonight, and it is going to be more difficult for the defenders, though, to contain these Toronto players on Toronto's home field.
The Blizzard waltzed into the final round after becoming a wild card team. Their record of 14-10, 117 points. They took on the Western Division champion San Diego Sockers, defeating San Diego in San Diego, then coming back and winning Game 2 here in Toronto. So prior to the game the other night in Chicago, the Blizzard had 10 days rest. With the Chicago Sting, of course, it was a tough three-game series with Vancouver. Vancouver winning the first one in Chicago, the Sting having to come back to win in BC Stadium, and then, of course, the third and deciding match in Chicago. The Toronto Blizzard has some very, very exciting players. Number 11, Roberto Bettiga, an Italian international, Ace Nesselenque, David Byrne, and they have John Paskin on the bench tonight. Paskin, a high-flying, very fast forward. from South Africa who broke in his rookie year and has done a lot of good for Toronto. But perhaps the most important new player in the Toronto lineup is the return, at least temporarily, of Jimmy Nicholl, an international from Northern Ireland who had a hamstring, but he's playing tonight.
Nicholl's missed recent matches, and as of last night, he didn't believe he was going to be able to play, but Toronto needs the victory, so Nicholl's going to go ahead and make a go of it, and if he has to come off, I'm sure Bob Houghton will go to his bench. But Nicholl, very important player, very hard-working player, a player that can win a lot of balls in the midfield, and that is where Chicago really controlled the game at Comiskey Park. The midfield of Jerry Gray, Manny Rojas, and Rudy Glenn did an outstanding job in controlling that game, and Bob Houghton, the Toronto coach, wants to get a little support.
There's been a lot of bad words in the papers up here in Toronto. They are still feeling the effects of the Sting beating Vancouver. They wanted to play Vancouver. That would have given them a home field advantage. Plus the fact that there is a lot of talk about the Sting going over to the Missile, and they feel that they should keep the championship up here. However, they're going to have to do it on the field. They're not going to be able to do it in the press. The Chicago Sting and Toronto both have excellent goalkeepers. Victor Nogueira's come on very strong the last several games of the season, but in Paul Hammond, the #1 goalkeeper in the North American Soccer League. Kenny, if it comes down to a shootout, Toronto's Hammond is very, very strong.
Hammond is a very strong goalkeeper and a very experienced goalkeeper as well. As far as Victor Nogueira is concerned, he's been a very important player for this Sting throughout the stretch. He got the hot hand, kept the ball out of the net, and that's why Chicago's in this situation. The other night in Chicago, many of the fans saw a very embarrassing goal. Nogueira called it the most embarrassing goal that he's ever let in, but I think people forget about that pretty quick since the Sting did win that game, and Nogueira did make that key save late in the game with the score tied at 1, and that, of course, just before the winning goal by Rojas.
Chicago proved that they can penetrate this very tough Toronto defense. Several opportunities in that first game, a couple of balls hitting the crossbar. Should be quite a game, and we're going to be back with more of our pregame after these words. I'm a little bit surprised to hear quite a bit of booing by the crowd at the end of the U.S. anthem. Capacity here, a little over 21,000, and it looks like we have about 16 or 17 in the house right now, a few more coming in. In the moments we have, let's talk to the Executive Vice President of the Chicago Sting, Doug Verb. And Doug and a whole flock of the Chicago Sting front office have come to Toronto hoping to see the Sting clinch their second NASL championship. But Doug, it won't be long. Less than a month from yesterday, the Chicago Sting will open up indoor in a 48-game MISL series with 24 home games, and I understand you've got a lot of fun and a lot of excitement ready for the fans coming to the stadium for the indoor games.
Thank you, Howard. Yes, we do. In fact, all the fun and excitement starts right here. It's very important. We're going to come back and start playing the Missile as the champion Chicago Sting, along with the former champion San Diego Sockers. We're looking forward to it. Of course, we want to win here. I'd also like to say we do have quite a good group of Sting fans nestled in here right behind our bench. We're going to come home a champion here, and it's a month away to indoor. We open up November 16th. We'll have some new looks and a few little new tricks, a few little new surprises, but always fun and total entertainment. And of course, the indoor game is great. This game here tonight has all the angles of a real great super championship playoff game.
Okay, Doug, remember that Sting number, 558-KICK, 558-KICK, indoor ticket information and schedules. November 16th at the stadium. Kansas City comes in to begin it. And, Kenny, we're getting ready to go. The referee, Billy Maxwell, on the field. The Sting will kick off.
Chicago with the same lineup they used defeating Toronto in Game 1. Guerra, the goalkeeper, Simon Nicodelia, Knight and Houston, the defenders, Rudy Glenn, Jerry Gray, and Manny Rojas in the midfield, Sanino, Granitza, and Marhetic up front.
Sanino's down. He's fouled by Wilson. There was no call. Nicodelia chases the ball down, bounces off of Wilson, puts it forward. There's the cross in front, and Guerra grabs it. The header taken by Roberto Bettiga.
For Toronto, Paul Hammond, the goalkeeper. A defensive Cliff Calvert pushed back to a defender from the midfield slot. He played in the Chicago victory.
Manny Rojas thought there was an offside call. There was none, so Randy gave up on it. There's another cross. Guerra's there. Punches it high in the air. Sanino is up now. He's trying to unlock that left knee. Same knee that locked in the Vancouver game that put him out of commission. And he looked at Bruce Wilson and had a few things to say.
I mentioned Calvert. Also in the defense, Connie Carlson, Derek Spalding, Bruce Wilson. In the midfield, Jimmy Nickel, Randy Reagan, and Ace Nesselinge. And up front, David Byrne and Roberto Bettiga, Pasquale De Luca as well in the midfield for Toronto.
Jerry Gray, who played such an outstanding game against Toronto. He's a native of Toronto. His family's from here. An offside call against the Chicago Sting. Dilbo Di Placido on the near side. Michael
Jerry
Saunders
Gray
on the far side.
With the referee, who called the offside on his own. The linesman here on the near side did not pick up the flag.
Shot of the Sting bench, Coach Willie Roy. In the foreground, you saw Frank Crocker, Sting Director of Security. He's here. Cliff Calvert delivers the ball deep upfield. Coming out in front. And good defensive play by Symington. He closed down David Byrne.
Good touch on the part of Bettiga. It's he and Byrne who worked very, very well in that two-man tandem, but unfortunately for the offensive-minded Blizzard fans, they're too often on their own.
And now Spalding, Dex Granitza, he's down in the circle. Maxwell hasn't blown the whistle yet. To call a foul, Jimmy Nickel with it. Nickel playing with an injured hamstring, run off the ball by Pato Marhetic, who drives it back to Victor Noguera.
Nickel, Granitza back on his feet. He was taken down by Spalding in the opening minutes of the first game, and the Sting coach Willie Roy on the near sideline having some words with the Toronto bench.
But it's again, he took a kick in the ankle from Spalding because it's a Gray. Gray to Pato Marhetic. First time Sting's been inside the 35-yard line. Now Rojas chipping it forward. He's got Rudy Glenn. Glenn tried to take the shot. He couldn't do it. Calvert smothered it.
Getting back to that Granitza injury, what happened in that game is Granitza took a kick below the knee. It hit the nerve running down the leg, and he had lost feeling in his leg, and that's why he had to come off the field. And it took nearly 3 minutes for him to regain feeling in that leg.
Hayden Knight got away with a push on Bettiga. Again, Maxwell hasn't called a foul yet as Nickel heads the ball out. It's going to be a throw-in for the Sting in their own zone. A lot of people here from Chicago. Talking with Edgar Garcia, family back in Chicago listening. Gino Marino, the Sting's good luck charm, has made the trip. And Gino said there's about 200 or 300 people in the Maroons Club over in Elmwood Park watching this game tonight. Here comes Jerry Gray to little Davey Hussam. He is upended, and we finally have a first foul of the game. Sanino puts it in play to Rudy Glenn, but Wilson cuts it off. Gives it to the goalkeeper. Both goalkeepers in gray and black. The Chicago Sting in their traditional black shirts, yellow shorts, yellow hose, white numerals and trim. Toronto in white jerseys, blue shorts, red, white, and blue numerals and trim. Symington delivers it back, but Wilson intercepts. 2:45-minute running time halves. Only the referee, Billy Maxwell, can determine when to stop the clock. We've played just about 4 minutes of the first half. Hammond, tremendous goalkeeper, drives it with the wind at his back. The wind seems to have shifted. Wind seemed to have slowed down the ball. And now Gray going forward to Granitza. Granitza on the run. Spalding hits it away. Taken back by Connie Carlson. Symington finally ends up with Victor Cadelia to Davey Huson. Up to Gunitsa, over to Manny Rojas. Back to Marhetic. Randy Reagan on him, finally gets up with Mark Symington again. Mark's job will be watching David Byrne. Pass up front, Gunitsa goes down. Referee says play on. Gunitsa's fighting. Ball deflects off of Nessa Lankway, and we're going to have a foul on Karl-Heinz Gunitsa. Crowd really giving it to the Chicago Sting right now.
Very exciting place to be right now, Varsity Stadium. They only hold a little over 21,000, and it's very much filled. And you could sense that you are at a championship game.
Ex-Chicago Sting player Derek Spalding drives us forward. Glenn on the intercept to Sanino. Now let's see if that leg's okay. Rojas to Big Hayden Knight. Knight's job, Bettiga. And now Manny Rojas. Driving across to Marhetic. He's picked up by Cliff Calvert on the far side. Calvert played in the midfield the other night. Now he's the right wing fullback. Goes to Gunitsa. Gunitsa looks for Rojas. Chooses to keep it. Back over to Jerry Gray. Rojas angling in the box. Marhetic tries to break through, gives it to Gray, but it goes out of bounds. It'll be a throw-in to the Toronto Blizzard.
Moments earlier, one of Chicago's better attacks in the early goings, but it was a good pass from Rojas from the near side to the far side of the field, pulling the Toronto defense apart. Chicago trying to work it in from there. But that's about as far as it got.
Our camera crew gave us the temperature. It's 55 degrees with the wind out of the west at 15 miles an hour. And we want to thank him for giving it to us in Fahrenheit, not Celsius. David Byrne. He goes wide. It'll be a goal
kick. You can see that ball taking a bad bounce on Byrne as he went to kick it. It took a bounce not to his liking. And, of course, impossible to kick that ball the way it bounced. They had a football practice there, the University of Toronto practicing just 2 hours before the game, and that is the reason that the middle of the field is so much worn down.
Marhetic over to Manny Rojas. Just nurses it along the sideline. Now to Marhetic. Brings it to Gray. Picked up by Ace Nessavenque. Huson for Chicago to Rudy Glenn. Glenn made some good runs in that second half, coming up the near side. And now Sanino once again to Gray. Nickel on him, knocks the ball away. Huson saves it for Symington. Byrne chasing. Back to Davey Huson. Huson had his flake bar. Candy bar you can only find up in Canada before the game. Says it gives him mysterious powers and super energy. Ball goes out. Let's see how they call it.
They're giving Chicago the ball. That's a mistake. Obviously, the ball coming off of Victor Cadelia's flag. And there you look at the Sting bench at assistant coach Mike Gribich and the black warm-ups and head coach Willie Roy with his hands in his pocket.
Now the linesman, Di Placido, calls the foul as Maxwell was willing to ignore it, but then Maxwell accedes to the linesman as Gunitsa goes down. Free kick for the Sting, right at the 35-yard line. Field 72 yards wide, 110 yards long. Manny Rojas will take the free kick. Chicago hasn't had a shot yet, but they knew Toronto would come out real hard in the early going. Rojas drives one toward the goal and is tipped over the bar, but the linesman raised his flag for an offside, but Maxwell says no.
Man in an offside position, a Sting player, but the referee properly ignoring the linesman because the ball was a direct shot on goal. Chicago will get the corner kick.
Manny Rojas from the near side. Number 9, what an outstanding season he's had since coming over to the Sting from Golden Bay. There's the cross. Headed right back to Rojas. Another cross deflects. Marhetic gets it. He's heading for the box. He's working with Rojas. And he thought Rojas would make the move. He didn't, and Tato's pass goes over the line.
It was a good effort on Marhetic's part. Rojas had the pull-up, or he would have put himself in an offside position.
A victory for Chicago. The NASL championship goes to Chicago. Victory for Toronto, and at 7 o'clock Sunday night at Comiskey Park, it'll be the Sting in Toronto in the game to take all the marbles. Upfield it comes. Glenn heads it forward. Too far for Sanino. Randy Reagan. Back to Carlson. He lets it go. Hammond's got it. And Sanino seems to be running a little better now. Jerry Gray waiting. Bettiga's there. Pushed it up in the air toward Jimmy Nickel. It's going to be given, and rightfully, I believe, to the Sting. The crowd didn't like it.
Well, it's given to the Sting via a foul. The referee whistling Bettiga, feeling that he challenged unfairly in the air with little Jerry Gray. Chicago taking the free kick and putting it back in play.
Here comes Marhetic, gets by the referee, pushes forward to Granitza. He looks. Rudy Glenn posted high. Sinino on the near side is unmarked at this point. Now he's picked up. They go forward to Gray. Gray on the run to the end line. There's a cross, but it goes over. Goal kick. Apparently, the officials on the sideline are making quite a fuss, forcing Willie Roy to sit on the Chicago Sting bench. They didn't like him standing up. Paul Hammond with the goal kick.
Interestingly enough, the two benches side by side, a few yards separating them, unlike Chicago where they're on the opposite sides of the field, so the coaches very close to each other.
Rojas gets his foot in there. Here comes Sinino breaking on the near side. Rojas instead try to go to Huson. Ball cleared by Carlson, taken back by Marhetic. Marhetic fires, and it's saved by Hammond. Sting looking a little more dangerous now. They're starting to get the feel.
There's a case where the veteran goalkeeper Hammond read Marhetic's attempted shot early on, and that was what enabled him to make the save. Marhetic wanted to chip it over Hammond.
Roy Roy now on the back of the Chicago bench with assistant coach Mike Gribich. David Byrne is crossing. Pedalia had it skip by him right to Victor Noguera, fortunately. Bettiga was right down there on top of him. Granitza circling under the ball, takes an elbow from Spalding, comes back to Sinino. Sinino back to Granitza. Sinino continues to run. Glenn coming up the near side. He goes to Sinino. In a triple team. Back to Granitza. Looks for a little bit of help. Marhetic. 1-on-1 Calvert. Goes to Gray again. Gray and Carlson too far for Gray. Carlson's there. Gray tried to win it. Clipped him in the heels. Goes over the end line. Goal kick. Jimmy Nichols. A group of us saw Jimmy last night in downtown Toronto. And he's a little disgusted. He said that Clive Toy is trying to sell him back to a club in England. Apparently Toronto paid well over $400,000 for him. Clive is trying to sell him back for around $100,000, claiming that in a year or two, Jimmy Nichols won't be worth anything. He's an Irish international, played on the World Cup team. He's only 27 years old. And Nichols was saying Clive is trying to sell him and Connie Carlson. But Nickel, the professional that he is, even though he's hampered with a hamstring, still out there trying his best for his ball club. DeLuca. Granitza tried to pick Carlson's pocket as Spalding drives it upfield. Knight drives it back, but we're going to have a call. It's going to be a foul against David Byrne.
Against Toronto.
Right. I think David Byrne.
Perhaps the whistle blown a little bit quick right there because Chicago gained possession of the ball anyways. Hayden Knight playing it out to Marhetic, but the referee had already made up his mind.
No score. We have a little over 33 minutes to go in the first half. Manny Rojas, he fires and just misses wide. That's one that Hammond really didn't anticipate. He had a scramble to the near post, but Rojas shot tail wide.
Tremendous skills by Rojas, flipping the ball up in the air and striking it first time, catching the goalkeeper. Perhaps a little slow to react to it, but the shot sailing wide to the near side.
Hayden Knight and Bettiga. Ball is headed forward. Byrne on the run. Gray was able to get it to Cadelia. Connie Carlson, who has come forward to the midfield stripe. We haven't seen that much in the first game. And now Nesselingwe retaliates against Davey Huson.
I'm sure Nesselingwe will probably get a yellow card. The foul was called against Houston. The whistle blew, and then Nesselingwe stuck his foot in, fouling Houston long after the whistle blew right there.
Spalding trying to be the peacemaker.
There you see the replay. They ruled Davey Houston fouling. At this point, the whistle had already blown, and you see the retaliation there on Nesselingwe's part. And the referee booking him right now, giving him the caution. Probably the yellow card as he goes into the book, writes down his number, his name.
That's the 13th yellow card of this short series, Kenny. Kenny, in the first game against Toronto, David Socha handed out 12 yellow cards. And I got to believe, and this is my own opinion now, that anytime there's a game with 12 yellow cards, the referee isn't doing his job. Because it means he has lost control of the game.
Well, at a certain point that the referee the other day, the players realized he was not going to send anybody off.
12:27 is the time
so
on
the
the
yellow cards really didn't mean very much.
David Byrne shot deflected by Symington. It'll be a corner kick. Ball coming off the defending player. The offensive team will have the corner
Again,
kick.
the combination of Byrne and Bedica. The ball played high in the air, and Bedica touching it down with his head. Byrne pushing and shoving in the box, was able to get some space, but Symington smothered the shot.
Jimmy Nickel will take it from the far corner. Long, high cross in the air. Bedica. And it's skipped over the head of Byrne.
Right there. Byrne was very close to the goal, but the ball took a bad hop as far as he was concerned, because he could have just touched that one on. He should not have been still in an onside position there. The defense for Chicago slow to get out.
Throw in now for the Sting. Gray to Marhetic. 1-on-1 with Calvert. Back to Jerry Gray. Grunitza calling for the ball. He's posted high. Back now to Marhetic. To Manny Rojas. Reagan chasing. Reagan slips. Here comes Rojas. Goes forward to Grunitza. Grunitza traps it. Looks for Husa, but it's cleared by Spaulding. It'll be a long run for Byrne. Byrne and Symington, shoulder to shoulder.
And he's got a two-man advantage on the far side. Symington will have to do well to contain him here.
And we're getting a call against Toronto on the far side. And Byrne kicks it away.
Great defensive job there by Mark Symington containing Byrne. Had he given him any space, and Byrne had been able to loft across to the near side of the field. Toronto had a 2-on-1 situation. There's Nesselinge made a terrific run out of the back.
Again, if you keep track of such things, Ace Nesselinque's yellow card at 12:27. A lot of Chicago press here. Lacey Banks from the Sun-Times, John Leftich from the Tribune. We have Keith Reinhardt from the Herald, all up through the northwest suburbs. Susan Fornoff of USA Today is here. Clive Gammon is here with Angel Rodriguez from Sports Illustrated. It's the championship of the NASL on the line. Knight heads it out. Throw in for Wilson. Roberto Bedica, Italian international. Says he hasn't really enjoyed playing in this country because he doesn't like the officiating. And now Pasquale De Luca coming. There's the cross to Bedica. Cleared out of there. Calvert coming up. He miskicks it, and now a long run for Pato Marhetic with Carlson there to drive it out.
Good defensive play there by Carlson. Calvert came forward and gave the ball away. He is the man marking on Pato Marhetic this evening, so that opened up some space for Calvert's teammate Connie Carlson. Seeing the situation, came over to clear the ball out of danger. Jerry
Gray is going to let it roll out. It'll be a throw in Chicago. Their side of the 35-yard line. Clock shows about 29 and a half minutes to go in a scoreless first half. One yellow card dished out so far. One player that's been relatively inactive here in the first part of this half is Sonino. And from a Toronto standpoint, that is when he is the most dangerous. So they're going to have to watch out. All right, Rojas to Huson. Huson looks for Symington. He gets him. Back to Rudy Glenn. Spaulding comes up behind Glenn. Wins it for Ace Nesselinge. Huson goes to the steal. Missed it. And here comes Ace. A long run for Bedica, but Hayden Knight drives it out. Huson's assignment is Ace Nesselinge. Davey really had to hustle back to throw into David Byrne with Symington on. Crossing up in the air from Cadelia. Symington goes forward to Grunitza. Nice trap. Spaulding knocks Grunitza right down. A cheap shot on the ankle. Derek Spaulding, a very popular player in Chicago, has turned into something else again here. I mean, he's just kicking everything in sight from behind. I felt that the game in Chicago, some of those fouls are not nearly as bad as they look, but here's a case where the intent was very, very obvious. A very dirty foul on Spaulding's part, coming down with the bottom of the shoe on the calf of Grunitza. If we get a chance to see it on the replay, no question, Spaulding was not making any effort at playing the ball, and we certainly hope Grunitza's okay. Spaulding was a member of the Sting 1981 Soccer Bowl champions. He was co-captain that year with Ingo Peter. He and Pato Marhetic having a few hot words. In the middle of the field is Sting trainer Jerry Carter working on Grunitza. Willie Roy can't believe and Spaulding that it's happening again. Spaulding turning and smiling a little bit at Willie Roy. And Bob Houghton standing on the sideline giving a smirk to Willie Roy. Ron Newman of San Diego is in town. He accepted the award as NASL NASL Coach of the Year. His San Diego team won the Western Division. And frankly, I congratulate Ron. He did a good job. I think the Chicago Sting Coach Willie Roy equally, if not more so, deserving of the honor with a short roster. This is up on his feet.
A smoke bomb thrown out on the field. And there's no place for that in professional sports.
A lot of class here, folks. It's a great city, Toronto, but they got some real nutcases up in the stands.
There's enough trouble here when the wind blows. The cinders and the dust off the track surrounding this field can blow out onto the field and interfere with play and the player's view of what's happening. But when they start to throw the smoke bombs out of there, it's very disappointing.
Clock has stopped at 28:38. Now they put it in play as the smoke starts to dissipate up into the breeze at 15.
And there's a case there where the ball was just placed back from outside of 35 yards by Victor Cadelia. That is a no-no, and the referee can caution Cadelia and give an indirect kick.
And a foul called. Spalding coming over the back of Granitza. Now this is Karl-Heinz Granitza territory. Connie Carlson screaming at the near side linesman. The Sting will have a direct free kick. That ball approximately 27 yards out. Granitza can hit from here. In fact, Kenny Stern was kidding Carl today. He said, Carl, when are you going to get a free kick goal? You haven't had one in a while. Well, maybe this will be the time. Granitza getting ready. The wall is at the top of the box. He drives it. Hits the post. Rebound. Scores! Mark Symington has given the Sting the lead as Granitza hit the post. Mark Symington headed in the rebound. Chicago leads it 1-0 with 28:13 to go in the half.
Well, in the last 30 seconds, 2 fouls by Derek Spalding. The first giving Chicago possession at their own 35-yard line, and the second giving them the opportunity on the free kick, for which Symington put away. Granitza will get the assist.
Calvert upfield for Byrne. Byrne and Symington on the far side. Symington will not take the fake. He won't turn. And the ball goes over the end line. Last touch by Symington. Jimmy Nickel will take the corner kick. In 2 years playing Toronto, the Sting has not lost a game either over at Exhibition Stadium and last year a couple of wins here. There's the cross. In the air they go. Bennigan header out in front, knocked away. Cedinho is there. Brings it over toward Marhetic. Too far. Carlson drives it back. Of course, the Sting hadn't beat Toronto in Chicago in 2 years, too, until that victory the other night, 1-0. Nagara for Chicago. Drive upfield. Spalding pumps it back in the air. Jerry Gray bypasses Rojas. Jimmy Nickel on the intercept. Back to Spalding again. Official time on the goal, 16:42. Symington with Granitza getting an assist. Granitza now with his 5th assist and 3 goals. He got 11 points on the playoff. Marhetic with 9 in second place. The throw in to Marhetic. Kicked away by Toronto. Let's see how they call it. But
they're going to call it last off of Marhetic, and Toronto will get the throw in.
Maxwell claims it went off Marhetic's leg, and he's a lot closer to it than we are. Now to Connie Carlson. 1-0. Chicago leads. Mark Symington.
Toronto down a game and down a goal. And we'll find out now whether or not they're going to be pushing forward, trying to get the equalizer right away, or whether they will stay patient and bide their time.
Manny Ross gets it from Granitza. He goes to Marhetic. Back to Gray.
That is only the second time during the playoffs that the Sting is struck first.
And now Marhetic basts him. Connie Carlson is there. Symington's first playoff goal. Mark got a couple big goals in the Sting playoff drive at the end of the season.
He got the game winners against Vancouver and in Tampa Bay. 2 of those last 3 victories.
Boy, he had a great second half, Mark Symington. All right, here is Connor Marhetic. Back he comes to Victor Cadelia. Less than 26 minutes to go in the half. Bad pass by Pato. It's intercepted by DeLuca. Pasquale DeLuca. Challenged by Pato. Pato forces a bad pass. Run down by Manny Rojas.
We're told that is Mark Symington's first playoff goal and playoff points in his career.
Rojas delivers to Cedinho. Back he comes to Mark Symington. Challenged by DeLuca. He goes to Cedinho. Cuson calls for it as he comes over the 35. Cedinho holding. Back to Symington. Toronto in some tight man-to-man marking. Now Rudy Glenn to Davey Huson. Cedinho takes the ball. Back to Huson. Davies inside the 35. Now he brings it back to the midfield. To Cedinho. Double teamed. DeLuca and Wilson on him. Goes to Rudy Glenn. Back to Cedinho. To Huson. Toronto forcing the Sting backwards. Rojas is put down. We have a foul on David Burns. Free kick Sting. They bring it to Cedinho once again. 1-on-1 with DeLuca. Back to Rojas. To Gray to Rojas. Over to Cadelia coming up from the sweeper spot. Somebody will have to cover back there in case Toronto gets the ball. Pato Marhetic goes forward to Granitza. Granitza out to Jerry Gray and the offside. Toronto moved forward and caught Jerry Gray offside.
Jerry Gray playing a very smart game. Sitting back, helping out all the time defensively, and then going forward when the space is vacated. The broadcast rights to this game have been granted to Sports Vision by the Chicago Sting solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any reproduction or other use of this program without the consent of Sports Vision is prohibited.
All right, Ace Nissalenge, very, very dangerous. Puts it over to Calvert, coming up from the right back spot. Calvert's driving it in the box. Too far for everyone. It'll be a goal kick, Chicago. 23:47 on the scoreboard clock. Sting leading 1-0 on a goal by Mark Simonson. Heading in, a rebound after Karl-Heinz Granitza's vicious free kick hit the crossbar. Boy, Karl really took that well, didn't he?
You could see that ball bent over the wall, and it was only a question whether it would turn downward in time to hit the back of the net. And it did not, but it turned downward in time to hit the post and stay in play. And a very good run out of the back by Simonson as he was just simply anticipating the Karen much better than the man he was going against.
Cadelia to Cedinho, a little high for Cedinho, pushes forward to Granitza. And we're going to get a foul on Granitza. Bumping into Derek Spaulding. Bruce Wilson, the veteran. Nickel heads it away from Jerry Gray, but there's Victor Noguera. Wilson started his career with Vancouver, came to the Sting, went to the Cosmos for a short stay, and now here in Toronto.
Incidentally, Granitza picking up his 5th assist of the playoff to go with 3 goals.
Cadelia has to save it. Once again, a distribution problem. Jimmy Nickel on the throw-in. Back. Calvert puts it forward. Hayden Knight drives it out of bounds. Throw-in Blizzard in the midfield. 22:20 to go in the half. 1-0 Sting. The Sting can hold on to this lead. The NASL championship comes back to Chicago. There's the throw-in for Bettiga. Headed away by Hayden Knight, and Cadelia lets it roll to Victor Noguera. To Davey Huson. Rojas, Spaulding is there, goes to Nissalenge. Huson knocks it away, the ace gets it back. Rojas fighting for it. Oh, that little Rojas goal, and Huson tackles it out of the sideline. And now the Toronto bench is starting to wave their fingers at Davey Huson. Little Davey at 5'7". So Rudy Glenn at 6'3" comes over and says, hey, want to pick on somebody, pick on me.
Ice and all kinds of liquids being thrown from the bench out towards the field. One man leading the garage against Houston, Clive Toy, the president of the Cubs.
Ball out. Be a foul on Glenn, following Pasquale DeLuca. Bruce Wilson will take the free kick just outside the 35. They cross it to Byrne. Symington makes the defensive play. Rudy Glenn there. Byrne is down, still trying to draw the foul. Cedinho goes for it. Back to Symington. Byrne is still down in the box. Now to Granitza. Granitza has Marhetic making a run, and the ball kicked away by Carlson. Carlson coming to Jimmy Nickel, and the ball is driven over the end line.
Good recovery there by Jerry Gray. Granitza controlling the ball and looking for Marhetic, but the ball drifting away from him. And he did not realize. Carlson came in, stripped him of the ball. It appeared that he may have had a man open on the far side, but the pass a little bit soft, and Jerry Gray, an excellent job of getting back to cover up.
Great crew here. Bringing us that warm coffee and doing all kinds of good stuff for us. Byrne on the ground. 21:04 The clock has stopped at 21:04. We did not have a clear view of the physical contact between Byrne and Mark Symington moments ago. Kenny, I don't know if you spotted it. I was not able to.
Simply some pushing going down inside the box, and Byrne going down as you would expect in this situation, trying to draw the penalty. No question, Toronto trying to intimidate the referee, Billy Maxwell, into making a call.
If Bob Houghton wants to learn intimidating, he ought to go to the Don Popovich School of Referee Intimidating over in Golden Bay. They do it better than anybody I've ever seen.
It's a lot different, though. The outdoor game, the referee has a lot more space to stand in. The indoor game, the fans are always on top of him.
There's the cross. Pushed over the end line. Thank you for that good hot coffee. Chilly night in Toronto, but right now things are warm for the Sting fans. 1-0, Chicago leads it. We have under 21 minutes to go in the half as Jimmy Nickel goes for the cross again. Over to Garrett's head. And we're getting a pushing off call on Derek Spalding in the box.
Chicago fortunate right there. As the cross came in, I talked about the fact that the wind blows quite a bit here. The wind got behind that ball and pushed it over Victor Nogueira's outstretched hands, and you saw right there the goal completely vacated. If one of the Blizzard players can get a head ball goalward there, quite easily the game could be tied.
There drives it past Granitza. Carlson is there to Spalding. He heads it over to the near side. It will be a race. Sanino and Bruce Wilson. Sanino has it. Driving it forward again. Marhetic for Rojas. A shot misses wide, and an offside to boot. Granitza is being called offside by the near side linesman, Milvo Di Placido.
Good work there. Sanino grabbing Spalding's misheaded ball, sending it across Marhetic, pulling it down on his chest, and leaving it for Rojas.
Hammond upfield over Gray's head. David Byrne pushed it back, but Gray to the 35-yard line. Cook, Calvert, and Marhetic. Marhetic steals it. Here comes Pato. And a nice slide tackle. Beautiful tackle by Calvert. Stopped what may have been a partial breakaway. Here comes Calvert to Jimmy Nickel. Stolen away by Jerry Gray. A Toronto boy. Then Gray gives it back. But Cedinho to Houston tries to break through, but the ace is there. Hayden Knight slide tackle. The Sting playing good defense now. They go to Granitza.
Great play there by Knight. A gambling move as he left Bettiga, thinking that he could win that ball, and that he did. Good run here on the near side by Glenn. If Sanino can spot him.
Now Glenn's got to get back onside. They go to Rudy Glenn. Glenn coming in. DeLuca's on him. Glenn's cross hits DeLuca, and it goes out.
That's unfortunate. As Sanino turned and hit that ball first time, Glenn could have walked in on goal, but Sanino did not spot him.
And now Rojas to Granitza. Gets by Spalding. His shot, and it is just over the outstretched hand of Paul Hammond. It'll be a corner kick. Hammond got just a piece. Beautiful shot by Granitza.
Granitza bending it well with the left foot towards the far side of the net. Had Hammond stayed on the line, he would not have had a chance. He came 5 yards off the line and was able to come up with the big save. There you have a look at it, and you could see Hammond way out there making the save.
All right, the Sting on the corner kick. They went to Jerry Gray, knocked away. And Randy Reagan for Toronto goes to David Byrne, but Cadelia's there. Cadelia on the run. Byrne beats him to the ball, and now Wilson drives it upfield. Hayden Knight can go to Nogueira without penalty because he was inside his own 35, and he had some pressure from Bettiga. Willie Roy had asked Karl-Heinz Granitza, when possible, to post as close to the top of the box to try to get draw some fouls for his free kick, and it certainly worked on the Sting goal when Granitza's shot deflected right to Simonton. They're now an offside call on Karl-Heinz Granitza as Toronto brought everyone up to the 35.
Well, Derek Spalding, Granitza's old teammate, very, very well aware of the fact that Granitza's a great passer and likes to return the ball once given to him on the give and go, but that time Spalding, anticipating Granitza's return pass, left the middle open, and he guessed wrong because Carl turned inside and almost scored Chicago's second goal.
Spalding, and now Bettiga forward to David Byrne, puts it through for Nickel, knocked away by Symington. Nickel fell on him, and the ball is driven upfield, out of bounds. It'll be a throw in Toronto.
Don't forget Big 8 football. Kansas State against Oklahoma. Game time 8 o'clock. Stay with Sports Vision for the best in Big Ten and Pac-10 football all season long. That game tomorrow at 8 o'clock, Kansas State and Oklahoma.
Another foul on Spalding. You know, for those of you maybe watching soccer for the first time, might be wise for a moment to explain the offside call. When you're over the midfield stripe, An attacker must have two defenders between himself and the goal at the time the ball is passed to him. One of those defenders is usually the goalkeeper. If he's out there all by himself, just between the keeper, between he and the goal, and the ball is passed to him, then he's offside. Cadelia driving it forward toward Granitza, a little high. He's pushed by Carlson. Up in the air goes Calvert. Pumps it forward. Jerry Gray goes to the tackle. Can't get there. The ball goes out. Let's see how they call it. Sing ball. Jimmy Nickel wisely trying to get the referee to change his mind, but Maxwell had a pretty good shot at it.
I'm surprised, even though it is Toronto's home field, Chicago's midfield again asserting themselves and putting Toronto's midfield under all kinds of pressure. And that's where a lot of the success is coming tonight.
David Byrne, Rudy Glenn gets it away from DeLuca. Looks for Cedinho. Trapped by Cedinho. A nice one. He's in a triple team. He comes back to Cadelia. Right back to Mark Simonson. Great deals by the Sting that brought Manny Rojas, Hayden Knight, and Jerry Gray to this ball club have given the Sting a very exciting and very skillful midfield. They not only can win the ball, but they know what to do with it when they win it. Here comes Cadelia. He goes to Granitza. 1-on-1 out with Carlson on him. Off to Pato Marhetic. The Magic Man has Jerry Gray overlapping on the far side. Jimmy Nickel on Pato. They go to Granitza, back to Pato. Kicked away, but Rojas is there. Rojas picked up by Reagan. Drives it off of Reagan's arm, but the ball played Reagan. Reagan didn't play it, so there's no call on the handball. Wilson upfield, looks for Byrne. Byrne on the run. Cadelia. There comes Byrne trying to beat Cadelia, and Cadelia gets a piece of it. It goes over the end line. It'll be a corner kick.
Tremendous pressure there. Byrne very, very dangerous and very quick. But Simonton and Cadelia double teaming him there. Not enough support for Toronto, as Byrne had to go one against two. If somebody been able to come forward and support him, then he would have only had to beat one man. Simonton stripped the ball away. Byrne had grabbed it. But since Cadelia had no one to pick up, he was able to come back and smother Byrne again.
Ace Nezalenge will take the corner kick. Up in the air it goes. The header by Jimmy Nickel over the bar. Goal kick Sting. Just over 14 and a half minutes to go in the first half. 1-0. Chicago leads it on a goal by Mark Symington and assist Karl-Heinz Granitza. All right, Nogueira puts the ball down at the top of the goal box. A shot at Pasquale De Luca with Rudy Glenn crossing in behind. Cedinho trotting upfield. Nogueira drives it bottom of the circle. Spalding is there. Heads it to Benega. Spalding continues the run, but he kicks it too far in front. And now Manny Rojas. Oh! Reagan tried to hog time, drop him. Granitza out of Glenn. Glenn, a little bit of heat. To Manny Rojas. Off they come. Gray to Marhetic. Marhetic back to Glenn. Then to Gray. Goes to Cedinho. Cedinho working with Davey Huson. Huson crossing behind him. Here comes Cedinho. Trying to get away from his length way, and a pass intercepted by DeLuca to Benega.
And Chicago caught with a few of their midfielders going forward here.
Hayden Knight knocks it away, but Ace gets it back. Ace cuts. And Jerry Gray gets it from Hayden Knight. Off to Marhetic. Marhetic starts moving on Cliff Calvert. Rojas makes an overlapping run on the far side. Pato season gives it to him, picked up by Connie Carlson. Back to Pato. And is knocked away by Toronto over the end line. As Carlson got back quickly, Pato will have a corner kick. Down to your screen right. Just over 13 minutes left in the half. Sting leading 1-0. Hopefully we'll have Ron Newman, NASL Coach of the Year, up as our halftime guest. There's the cross. Knight goes for the header. Benega wins it back. Husson's shot is rejected. Marhetic goes to collect it. Picked up by Calvert.
Pato should have been whistled there for an offside.
The header on the near side here is Cedinho. He tries to chip it up. It hits the top of the net.
Cedinho miskicked that ball and almost scored it in. Marhetic should have been whistled moments earlier, as he was way offside. And although Houston wasn't trying to shoot it to him, it hit the Toronto team, but it was not played back by the Toronto defense. Since after this came from Houston's shot, and Marhetic being in the offside position, the flag should have come up and the whistle should have blown.
Ace goes to Langray. Goes to DeLuca. Can't control it. Cadelia for the Sting. Byrne cuts off the pass to the goalkeeper. So Cadelia still controls. He's put down by David Byrne.
I'm quite certain things not going well offensively for Toronto. If John Paskin is able to play, and he is dressed for this game, then we will see him in the second half. Moments earlier, David Byrne, who hustles all over the place, taken down Victor Cadelia. Cadelia had him beat on the dribble.
I see Ron Newman has made it to the booth, and we'll be talking to Ron at halftime as Cadelia drives it upfield. Pass Granitza, cleared away by Calvert, up to Benega. Turns Hayden Knight, lays it out to Jimmy Nickel. Ball knocked away and off of Jimmy Nickel. Nice play by Jerry Gray. Remember the single start indoor. You look at Ron Newman, you can't help thinking about indoor. And the single start indoor, November 2nd in St. Louis. The first game at the stadium will be on November the 16th against Kansas City. And of course, Kansas City has a lot of exciting. Charlie Ficus and Tim Twellman, Tasso Katsoukas, Gordon Hill. So call this thing off as 558-KICK, 558-KICK to get indoor schedules and ticket information. All right, Marhetic in the midfield to Houston. He looks for Sanino. He gets him with less than 11 minutes to go in the half. Sanino back to Houston. Here comes Davies. Spalding challenges. Try to go to Marhetic. It is kicked away by Jimmy Nickel. Back to the goalkeeper, Heaven. Cliff Calvert. This time it was Sanino that cut off the lane to the keeper. Ball upfield. Cadelia makes the stop. Ball knocked away by Benega. Rudy Glenn is there, but he's going to let it roll out. Throw in Chicago. 10.5 to go in the half. Glenn throw-in short of Granitza. Spalding heads it back, but it's intercepted by Sanino. To Glenn. 1-0 Sting. Goes to Granitza. Back to Sanino. Nice move. Gets it to Houston. Off to Rojas with Marhetic on the far side. Pato Marhetic. The Houston stole it away. Pato gets it back. And Ace Nesselenke ends up with it for Toronto. He looks for Byrne. Byrne coming on the near side. Wilson making a run. He lays it out to Byrne. Glenn drops Nate. But the advantage Toronto as Byrne comes forward. He's got Wilson. Bruce Wilson, he's a good crosser. He's crossing now over the head of David Byrne, and it's going to be a goal kick for Chicago.
Toronto attacking well right there, pulled it back to the near side, but when it came down to it, the final pass was not there, and the opportunity not there as well for the Toronto Blizzard.
1-0 Chicago, a goal by Mark Symington. Gray has it knocked away, but Rojas for the Sting. Goes to Symington. Miskicks it. Ball on the far side. Reagan pumps it back into the attack zone. David Byrne puts it forward for Benega, but he couldn't get through, and Hayden Knight just drives it up into the stand. 9 minutes to go in the first half. Throw in Toronto in the Sting zone.
Toronto warming up a substitution right there. Charlie Falzone, who came on as a late substitute, and he will be coming into this game with just under 9 minutes remaining in the first half the next time the referee has the opportunity.
Coach Willie Roy, assistant coach Mike Grivich. Sting steals it. Manny Rojas comes to Granitza. Gets it to Marhetic. Carlson has come all the way up from the sweeper spot.
My guess is it is probably a North American coming off for
maybe Jimmy Nickel. Nickel is trying to play with that hamstring. Maybe it isn't working. Way out front, here's Randy Reagan. Back to Nickel. Back to Reagan. He's got Cadelia to beat. And the cross comes off of Cadelia over the end line. It'll be a corner kick. No, they're saying Cadelia did not get a piece of it.
From here, it certainly
Jimmy Nickel's going to come out.
It certainly looked like that ball came off of Victor Cadelia, but evidently the linesman had a very good view there, and it just must have been mishit there. Jimmy Nickel coming off. He made a good go of it.
Very game attempt.
But he couldn't play. And Toronto come away with victory today. I wonder about Nickel's status for the third game in Chicago Sunday, but of course their main concern is to get back into this game. Falzone will give them a little bit more offensive ability. Probably be playing out of the midfield at this point.
He had a shot moments earlier of Toronto coach Bob Houghton. He of the blonde curly hair as Calvert drives it toward Benega. He and Hayden Knight in the air.
There are two players going after the same ball, and Falzone left unattended.
Benega on the give and go, but Hayden Knight cuts it off. Knight anticipating well. Drives it up to Rojas. That's a goal for Pato Marhetic. Pasquale DeLuca's on him, down to Rojas. Gray makes an overlapping run as Rojas nurses it toward the 35-yard line. To Granitza, posted high. Oh, he takes a bump, knocked away. Marhetic is there. Potter trying to split the defense. Carlson clears it. Hayden Knight pumps it back right into the middle. Ends up with Reagan. Lays it out to Benega. Hayden Knight gets a foot on it, but Benega's going to chase it down on the sideline. Gets around Knight. Here comes Benega. Danger. Symington stops the cross for Burns. Tucson in a battle with Ace Olenge. Scissor kicks it out. 7 minutes to go in the half. Still Sting leading 1-0. Charlie Falzone was born right here in Toronto. He's 5'9", 150-pounder. 23 years old. Rojas tries to go to Marhetic. Ace now over to Calvert. A long drive to David Burns. And Nogueira ends up with it. Stepped over the line. But I think there was a foul called on Benega.
Called against Benega, pushing on Cadelia. Nonetheless, Chicago had the ball, so it's not really important. Great touch there by Victor Cadelia.
There is Gino Marino, the Sting's good luck charm. Well, I tell you, what a fan. Member, of course, of the Maroons Club, and they're all watching. Yeah, we're getting a foul call, I believe, on Symington. Let's see how they call it. Yeah, it's going to be a free kick for Cliff Calvert. Clock continuing to run. 6 minutes left in the half. Toronto very good on these high crosses into the box. There's another one in the air, headed away by Symington. Nesselanque settles it at the 35. Houston tracking him.
Ace doing well to get out of the jam there, but he put himself in trouble there by not passing the ball.
Benega fighting for it, but Houston comes up with it. He goes to Granitza, to Manny Rojas. A little far, Marhetic is there. Back to Manny, too far. And that ball was cleared by Calvert all the way back to the goalkeeper. And the Sting bench comes alive and says, hey, that ought to be an indirect kick for the Sting at the 35. And now Benega tries to put it through. Nobody was chasing, and Victor Nogueira runs it down at the end line. 5:13 to go in the half. Sting leading 1-0. Ron Newman, our halftime guest, the only coach in the North American Soccer League history to be selected Coach of the Year twice, in 1977 with Fort Lauderdale and 1984 with San Diego. Less than 5 minutes to go in the half. Calvert controlling for Toronto. Long drive upfield. Burns makes a nice trap of that ball. Symington gets a foot on it, puts it out.
Rumors circulating just a week or so ago that David Chadwick, the Minnesota coach, had won Coach of the Year.
Yep.
But evidently those rumors are not true. Poor David. His club didn't make it to the finals and his contract not renewed. But I hope David is able to find a job elsewhere.
Nogueira backing up on that ball to the near post, pushed it over the end line. That was quite a cross. Taken by Calvert. And now Ace Nesselanque will take the corner kick down to our left. Rudy Glenn. His job is the near post. Davey Houston is attached to the near post. There's a cross. Pushed in the air. Cadelia. Uh-oh. Shot rejected by Mark Symington. That shot by Spaulding. Symington got a piece of. Keeps it inbound.
Very nervous situation. Victor Nogueira is going to have to be a little bit more active coming off the line.
And now Marhetic
cut down some of those opportunities. There's a good chance for Chicago as they come back out.
Out of Marhetic. Right now, the way Toronto is deploying, they go to Granitza. Almost tripped up by Spaulding. Gives it to Glenn. Spaulding delivers another one. Here comes Glenn. Here's it for Cedinho. Falzone has taken over the left back spot. They've moved Wilson into the middle on the defense. Nice play by Granitza. Back to Symington. Now to Jerry Gray. 3:16 to go in the half. 1-0 Chicago. Second game of the final round. Now they go to Granitza, but Di Pasillo says offside. He raises that flag. Free kick for Toronto. 3 minutes to go.
Toronto tactically changing his Falzone playing here on the near side coming out of the midfield. DeLuca, who was over here now, has switched sides of the field. He's on the far side.
Houston and Ace Nesselanque. And now Reagan. Fans on it, but the Ace is there. Nesalenge pushes it out to Wilson. Back to Nesalenge. Houston's on him. To foul zone. Way past Wilson.
Well, Wilson was in an offside position. He was trying to sneak back onside. Either way, Chicago gets the ball. The offside flag did go up.
Those bright yellow shorts of the Sting, resplendent tonight, brand new ones, along with their uniform. And Willie Steinmiller, the Sting equipment manager, treats every pair with love, care, and attention. He made the trip. Cadelia, what a nice steal from foul zone.
I tell you, David Burns out there right now kicking everybody in the back. When I say in the back, I mean the players in the back, the Chicago defenders, all taking their lunch from Burns.
Benega to Reagan. Reagan in the box. Symington heads it over the end line.
Mark had plenty of time right there to pull it down. However, he doesn't have eyes in the back of his head, and that's where Victor Nogueira perhaps could have helped him by giving him a call.
All right, another corner kick. Dangerous corner kick. Toronto would like to get the equalizer before the half ends. Sting trying to protect that 1-0 lead. There's the cross. In the air they go. And Nogueira takes it away from Spalding. Sanino calls for it on the far side. Gray working with Sanino. Jerry Gray. Sanino has to hold up to stay onside. He gets it from Gray. Drives it to Granita, who is pulled back into the midfield. Back to Sanino. Minute and 13 to go in the half. Oh, try to go to Gray. It was deflected. Right back to Toronto. Foul zone. Stolen away momentarily. Foul zone gets it back. And Sanino gets a foot on it, but it comes back to Paul Hammond. Minute to go in the half.
A little bit fortunate right there. Sanino got too much of a foot on that one. He could have stepped in and intercepted that one, and it would have been straight in at the net.
Bedelia to Gray. Gray pumps it up in the air, but only Spalding in the circle is there. Back to Calvert. Bedelia loses it. Rojas fights for it. Reagan comes up with it. Rojas gets another foot, breaks it up, but Bedelia has it smothered. Here's David Byrne. Danger, danger, a shot. And it hits the inside of the post. Benega hits the post, and Knight clears it off the end line. Wow, what action.
Byrne and Benega striking two shots off the post. The first one was deflected by Nogueira. If he doesn't get a hand on it, it's in the back of the net.
Jerry Gray in the air over everybody's head. Benega with 10 seconds left in the half. Now Reagan on the far side. Foul zone's cross in the air. Nogueira, and he grabs it. Collides with Houston and goes down, but the half has come to an end. What a tremendous finish to the first half. And the Chicago Sting leads it by a score of 1-0.
Now look at what happened at the end of the first half, though. Byrne, who had been fouling quite a few plays. But look at Nogueira. The right hand comes up, and he just catches a piece of that perfectly placed shot. Benega on the rebound. Hits the near post. Big break for Chicago and bad luck for the Blizzard.
And the half ends 1-0 Chicago. And we're going to be back with Coach Ron Newman after these words. It's halftime at Varsity Stadium. The Sting holding on very precariously to a 1-0 lead. The only goal scored by Mark Symington, bringing a header in off of a vicious free kick by Karl-Heinz Granita. Our guest is Ron Newman, and here is a fellow who made NASL history. He was voted for the second time the Coach of the Year in the NASL. First time anyone has done it in the North American Soccer League. Ron with Fort Lauderdale in 1977, and now with San Diego, the Western Division champions. Ron, sincere congratulations. You did a fantastic job with San Diego, and it's interesting how it paralleled here in Chicago. You made that tremendous run at the end to win the division. That had to give you a lot of satisfaction.
It was, because we thought we were out of it, and the way that we managed to come back and get, I think, 43 points out of a possible 45 was quite incredible, and I've got to give a lot of support for my players who did that for me. We stayed fit for those games, which is unusual, but it was marvelous, and I'm really disappointed, though, that we're not here in the finals.
You know, Ron, we kind of laugh in Chicago. We give San Diego credit for getting the Sting, the Eastern Division Championship. You fellas humbled us, humiliated us so badly in San Diego, defeating us, scoring 3 shorthanded goals, that the guys got their act together and say, hey, we can't let that happen. I don't think if that hadn't happened, who knows what might have. But let's talk a little bit about your playoff series against Toronto. They came out kicking against you just like they did against Chicago, didn't they?
They did. We had 4 players injured in the first game, and only one was by accident. The other three were fouls, I thought, by the Toronto players. And they really roughed us up a little. And when we came back here, all the players managed to play, but they're all only playing at about 60%.
And how is the injury situation right now? Are the fellas resting up before they go into indoor practice?
Yeah, they are. They disappeared now for a couple of weeks, and we'll be looking forward to getting back to practice at the indoor, but thank goodness we've managed to get a rest at last.
And in case there are some of you watching who may not have followed the history of indoor soccer, the gentleman next to me, Ron Newman, has coached, I believe it's 3 straight indoor soccer champions, right? 2 NASL with the MISL tucked in the middle, and I know you're going to be shooting for number 4.
Oh, yeah, and that's it's going to be tough. I think everybody's going to be after us, but that's the way we like it.
We are going to be talking to Ron Newman more about the indoor soccer scene and this tremendous ball club he is building in San Diego, a ball club that I think is going to blow right through the MISL Western Division. And we're going to be back with Ron Newman. Just a reminder before we do cut away that the Sting leads 1-0 on a goal by Symington. We got a big 45 minutes to go, and we're going to be back right after these words.
If October days get you down, turn to Sports Vision for the best in local sports action. October marks the return of Sports Vision's exclusive coverage of the Chicago Blackhawks. We'll bring you more than 50 games of hard-checking excitement. Also in October, the second week in October is another winner on Sports Vision, beginning with Notre Dame football highlights at 7 p.m. and boxing from Atlantic City at 8.
The Soccer Bowl trophy to be awarded to the winner of this series. Chicago is 45 minutes away from going home with it. It's going to be a tough 45 minutes. We're back with Ron Newman, coach of the San Diego Sockers, NASL Coach of the Year for the second time in his career. Ron, in the latter stages of the outdoor season, it was announced that great players that you had on your indoor team, fellas like Julie V and Martin Donnelly, your goalkeeper Alan Mayer, they all absconded down to Las Vegas for the good life down there. And I'll be darned, but who comes over to San Diego but the great Steve Jungle and Bronco Segota, the North American Player of the Year here in this league, but it was a lot of outdoor experience with the New York Arrows. Ron, you take a player like Jungle, who is perennially a leading scorer. Is it tough to take a guy like this and mold him to your style, which has been so successful?
Well, we don't know yet because we haven't had a chance to do it, but I'm sure that he's going to have to adapt. We did it with Julie V. And Julie's just as difficult as Steve Jungle, I'm sure. And both equally good players. And I look forward to the challenge. But we managed to do it with Julie, so I've only got to think that we can do it with Steve.
Well, there's been a lot of resentment up here in Toronto about the fact that your team, our team, the Cosmos of Minnesota, are going to play indoor this year. They seem to, for some reason, think that we have committed some sort of treason. And we know going into the Missile that they're going to be looking at us and trying their best to keep us out of the playoffs. And the going got a little rough there in the Missile, didn't it, with some of those calls?
Oh, that MISL season was something else. It was very, very difficult. And you're right, there's going to be, for a long time, NASL versus MISL during that season. And but I think it's good for a competition. It makes the whole games a bit more zesty, and it's good for the fans. So it's going to be an incredible, incredible season in the MISL this year, believe me.
Well, Ron Newman, of course, not only the coach of San Diego's championship team, but he coached the All-Star team to a victory. And we are looking forward to having San Diego in the Chicago Stadium. Our 18,000 fans are going to make it tough, as well as our team, of course. Ron, congratulations, and thank you. Good luck.
Come to Chicago.
We love having Ron, and we're going to love to have you back for the second half after these words. Well, I don't know where you are or where you plan to go, but right now stay close to the Sports Division screen. The Chicago Sting leading Toronto 1-0 in a game that has really started to open up, break wide open. Kenny, the Chicago Sting has to hold on for 45 minutes. I know they're not going to go into a defensive shell. Toronto's got to start pouring more people forward.
I'm sure Chicago will play very careful in the back, don't force Toronto to push their players forward. Maybe the counterattack will be open where the Sting could get that second goal. I think that second goal could be a very important one. One thing they're going to have to do defensively, though, is shut down David Byrne. Toronto had very few chances in the first half, but their chances came from David Byrne, who was out there kicking everybody in the back. Interestingly enough, Byrne is the man out there playing with a broken jaw, who had a gutsy effort on his part, but one of the Chicago players perhaps should confront him because it's not being called. Although I have to say the referee, Billy Mesco, doing an outstanding job out there. Very difficult game to do.
The only goal of the first half was scored by Mark Simonson off a free kick by Karl-Heinz Kunitzer.
You see Rudy Glenn in the wall pulling away. The ball knocked over against the corner, and Mark Simonton just reacting and beating the Toronto center back Carlson into the net. That coming in the 17th minute.
And the Sting had things well under control until, with less than a minute to go, Toronto really put it to them.
David Byrne striking the ball with the left foot. Beautifully hit shot, and Victor Nogueira came up with the save of the series as he stuck the right hand over the left hand, deflected the ball off the post, and then, of course, Bettiga on the rebound, trying to cut it in from a sharp angle, and as luck will have it, the ball carrying off the post a second time.
Both sides are on the field. We're getting ready for a big second half of action. The Chicago Sting leading by a score of 1-0. And we'll be back with all the second half action after these words.